Richard, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me here.
Oh, Michelle, it is always a great opportunity to catch up with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I thought what a great opportunity to talk about confidence.
Now, this is a deep and wide topic, and I know you've done a lot more research on confidence than I have, but my goodness, we get questions on this all the time.
Yeah, I would say I did not grow up with a lot of confidence by any means. And I don't know who really has, but for me, it's definitely been a work in progress. When we talk about sales, for example, my very first sales call, let's say I was working for Alliant Food Service, went through the food service sales training,
Oh,
and then I went on the road with a mentor. You learn all the things and then the rubber's going to meet the road. He does the first call. I go to do the second call. I'm looking directly at the operator and no words would come out of my mouth. I was frozen and he's kicking me like, say what we talked about. And I couldn't say anything. He had to take over. Fast forward many years later, I became a sales trainer. So somewhere in the way, I guess I grabbed onto some confidence.
I've been exactly that same way, whether it's speaking on stages or in front of a sales pitch in front of just a couple people, or speaking to a room of 100 people. One of the things that I've learned, Michelle, that is confidence is an inside job. And so when you feel a certain way, you begin to look a certain way and even sound a certain way. I've noticed my voice when I feel confident, my voice gets deeper and I start sounding a little bit more confident. And even sometimes you can even start to walk. I had an area president one time say, you're kind of walking with a swagger. And I never noticed it. But when you have confidence, you walk just a little bit of a certain way even. But it goes the opposite way as well, right? You've probably noticed that, Michelle. So you might sound a little bit softer if you're not as confident, or you might start to feel a different way. So all of those things are a result of our body language, what's going on the inside, and how you feel about what's coming out on the outside with your confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, confidence isn't about being puffed up and thinking that we're fantastic, because confidence without humility is arrogance. So it's, how do you find that right balance, right? That's what I'm talking about.
From the moment that very first time that I met you, Michelle, and this is a compliment to you, I felt that from you, that confidence with humility. And some people think you can't have both in the same pen or in the same fence, but I see that in you, confidence with humility. As a matter of fact, a quote from Maya Angelou that I absolutely love. She says, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion and some compassion, some humor and some style." And so that's what we're talking about, having a little bit of style and some passion, compassion, but not just merely surviving, but that thriving. And that's what we're talking about, that passion, that confidence.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful quote, because it brings both in, but it allows there to be fun in it too, right? So that leads me to say, what are some advantages of having confidence, And one of them I would say is self-belief. It's knowing that regardless of the circumstance, that we can believe that we can handle what comes our way.
It really brought to my mind that everything in the soft skill space that I talk to people about, whether it's emotional intelligence or leadership skills or executive presence or this thing of confidence, it's that inside job. It has to start, and I always put my hands down here, because it has to start in that heart space, that gut space. It really is that self-belief, that inside job.
That's a great point. That inside job, that's not looking for our validation somewhere else. It's trusting ourselves. I would say another thing is, when you have confidence, there's improved performance. I mean, even in a sales call, if I had walked in confidently with humility to say, hey, let me ask you a few questions and see what you're up to. There's no harm in that. That's kindness, but it's also a way to engage that improve performance.
Like the word risk taking, There's a friend of mine, Bill Washer. He says the word, he puts it this way: getting out on a skinny branch is where you can learn about risk taking. And for some of us, thinking about that is so scary. It makes us nervous. Maybe our palms get a little sweaty. But risk taking, for me, it's one of the keys, that those outside actions, that's what it takes to help build that muscle of confidence and break those steps into bite-sized, manageable little steps or pieces. But by all means, if you're listening to Michelle and I today, take some small steps, because those small risk-taking steps are where you have to go to get towards that confidence building, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I coach the positive intelligence program, and it helps us to look at our inner critic. And what I love is what they say is that when you make big change in your life, the inner critic just pops right up. It wants to get back to comfort, and it's going to tell you all the things you can't do and why it's not going to work. So when we break it down into those bite-sized pieces, we're kind of bypassing that critic, and we're able to go, okay, I can do that. And then I can do that. And sometimes you might have to do that afraid, but do it anyway.
And that's where those small little victories are at, Michelle. And man, I love that coaching mindset that you just talked about. Just taking those small little incremental, maybe it's just an inch by inch progress, but the bottom line is you're making progress towards confidence.
I think another benefit of confidence is assertiveness. The ability, any great leader, you see that they show up with confidence. I want to follow people that are assertive and own the room, so to speak.
Sometimes I think assertiveness gets that bad reputation for the last several years. And for my planners or the thinkers or the detailed people that are out there, I would even say too much planning around your confidence and this word assertiveness, it will freeze you into doing nothing. So take some of those small little steps like we talked about and take some action. But by all means, that assertiveness isn't being a bully or pushing people out of the way. That assertiveness is just stepping into your space of who you are.
I remember a few years back, I was a regional manager and I was doing a meeting in Dallas, Texas. And my coworker, who I had trained, happened to be in Texas. I said, come on by the meeting. Not that he was presenting, but he just spoke with such assertiveness that he started leading the room. And I just stood there. I had this like, what is going on? I'm losing the room here, because he wasn't necessarily 100% right on everything, but he said it so confidently. Everyone was believing him and going, hey, they were like latching on to all the words he was saying. So it was a great learning for me. Yeah,
because that assertiveness, it will take you further than even your knowledge and your talent base is even at. So you've got to be careful with that assertiveness tool, but by all means, it is definitely part of confidence.
Yeah, I like to say confidence with competence.
Ooh, there it is.
Is important, right?
Yeah, great equalization there.
Another thing that's positive mindset. Let's talk about that, the importance of that in confidence.
Michelle, I think you know me enough to know that I could probably speak on positive mindset all day long, because clearing out that negativity, it's a process in and of itself, but worth the journey, and even a big part of the confidence journey, because one simple key that I have a tendency to teach and coach and train is giving yourself more credit and stop being so hard on yourself. We are our own worst critic if we can just give ourselves a break. Sometimes if we would just remember the journey that we've been on and take a moment to look back on those incremental steps and inches and miles that we have come, sometimes it's okay to just look at yourself in the mirror and give yourself a high five and just look at yourself and say, you know what, you're doing great. You're pretty awesome, and congratulate yourself, because sometimes nobody else is going to.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic, because I don't know where we didn't grow up with the ability to just, when we talk about confidence, it increases our opportunities, right? Who wouldn't
Interesting.
want to hire someone with confidence?
Probably, Michelle, one of the reasons why I was even drawn to your teachings and your trainings and your abilities is because of that. Probably the reason why people are drawn to your coaching and some of your training is because you project that confidence and that self-assurance. You have a tendency to create a trust foundation with people automatically. That is a rare gem.
I think that it's the humility piece of it. You know, life has a way of bringing us humility. And when we can lead with it and realize that, hey, we all have our challenges. I want to come with compassion and empathy for all of us, myself and everyone else too. So I think that helps build that. But I really appreciate that. And it kind of leads itself into the idea of reduce stress and anxiety too, right? When we can have that confidence, it can help us, you know, reduce our stress and anxiety.
Yeah, and sign me up for a little bit of reducing the anxiety and stress. And some people get so, I mentioned it a while ago, maybe your throat tightens up or some sweat, or you get a little tear at the side of your eye, or maybe your voice starts to warble just a little bit, simply because of all the anxiety and stress. And that's where confidence comes in to help alleviate, and that competence with the confidence, and helps us to get our mental stability together to say, you know what, I can face this challenge, and I can face this sales pitch, or I can face this stage or this presentation or whatever the situation is. And it just brings that calm into its proper perspective. You know, I think we'll always have a little bit of nerves. I would think that nerves push us to have a better performance or a better engagement or a better presentation, whatever the situation may be. So I don't want you to never have at least just a little bit of nerves out there.
Yeah, I recognize that I can call it anxiety or I can call it excitement. It really feels the same in my body. When I call it excitement, it's like, oh, it doesn't feel so scary, right?
Yeah, and excitement pushes you.
Right. And I have this thing that I learned that I love it. It's the 10-second rule, or not even a rule, but just a matter of taking 10 seconds to get as present as I can, to notice my breath, to see the leaves on the trees, to recognize, you know, to see the eyelashes in someone's eyes of the person I'm speaking to, just to bring it back to that human to human connection, whatever that looks like, to calm myself and to really bring my nervous system into a better space. So on that topic of confidence, it helps us with enhanced communication. I think that's another piece of it.
One of the things I see almost every day is if you have monotone body language. In other words, if I showed up today and I was just speaking to everyone like this, if I have a monotone body, it comes across in my monotone message. There are a myriad of communication tips and ways to help with communication, like with my hands, but confidence and communication absolutely go hand in hand. And confidence and communication, which I think goes to the next part, which is leadership. Confidence communication is a natural progression right into leadership. So that enhanced communication is so important with confidence.
Richard, I so appreciate this conversation. It's a lot of fun. It's always great to connect with you. And what a fun topic.
Everybody's human. And remember that people that you think are the cool people in the room and are confident are no different than you are. And so everybody's got their own problems and their own insecurities and doubts. And we've got to stop thinking that anyone is better than we are or cooler than we are, because quite simply, they really aren't.
So good to recognize that, and then it brings compassion to all of us.
Thanks for this conversation, Michelle. You always make me better, and you always coach me forward.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Richard.